Hi guys, it's Stephanie with So Make It. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to get started putting these Jelly Roll Sizzle quilts together. Come join me. Right now what I've done is prepared the fabrics for the quilts. I did have a few jelly rolls that I'm using, and I did cut some extra fabric as well. I cut it 2.5 inches by width of fabric. So as I'm sewing some of these together, some of my fabrics were not as long as the jelly rolls, and that's okay. The pattern actually does call for you to put the jelly roll strips together and trim them to 4.5 by 12.5. So having the different lengths of fabric isn't a big deal. I'm just going to get started now. I have my 1/4 inch foot on. This is going to help guide me, help keep me at a consistent 1/4 inch seam allowance. I do have my stitch length at a 2.0, and I'm just going to start stitching everything together. I do have the jelly rolls on the quilt rack as you saw at the beginning of the video, and I'm just choosing random pieces of fabric and sewing them right sides together. So the pretty side facing the pretty side of fabric. On this part of the quilt, I've decided that I'm not pinning anything together. I am just lining my straight edges up. And with that 1/4 inch foot, it should be pretty easy to keep that straight line going. Just grabbing the next strip or the next set of strips and sewing them together again, pretty side facing pretty side. And I'm just lining the edge of fabric up as I go, still using that 1/4 inch guide and just sewing right along. If I need to adjust the fabric at any point, I'm just making sure that I leave my needle down and doing the adjustments, realigning the fabric to get it sewn together as straight as possible. And on to the next strip set. So I have 2 more pieces of fabric that I'm just sewing together. You may have noticed the butterflies in the last 3 strip sets. I think I have 6 strips of the butterfly fabric, but again, this is going to go across 3 separate quilts, so there's not going to be an overwhelming amount within the quilt. And then I'm going to do borders using this fabric. So that'll kind of draw the butterflies out of the quilt, and I think it's going to look really nice. And there's a lot more sewing the strips together. If you are someone who likes to watch just sewing in general, I will do a time-lapse video of me sewing all the strip sets together. But for now, in this video, I'm going to move on to the next step of the process, which will be setting the seams and pressing the seam to one side. Here I have a strip set, and I am just setting the seam, and basically that's just pressing the seam while it's still laying right sides of fabric together. And then I'm going to open the strip set up and just make sure that I press that seam to one side. Grabbed a couple more strip sets. I'm just repeating the process, and I'll repeat this for all of the strip sets that I've sewn together. Just pressing or setting the seam and then pressing the seam to one side. And repeating yet again. So this happens for every single strip set. Now I'm ready to go ahead and start trimming the strips to be the 4.5 by 12.5 inch strip sets. I'm just lining the strip set up straight across the grid lines on my mat. And then I'm going to measure at 12.5 inches. And I'm gonna just cut it off there. I did cut the other side. It looks like it was a little off camera, but I did cut the other side off as well. It had the selvage end on it. And now I'm just taking my ruler and I'm putting the 2 1/4 inch mark on that center seam line and just checking my edges. I found out with the jelly rolls that I received or that I got from Joann's that my jelly roll strips were slightly larger than 2.5. They weren't quite 2 3/4, but they were just a smidge larger. So on some of these you will see me trim just a sliver off to get my 4.5 inch width that I need. I saw an awesome ruler, and I've seen it in a couple of Jelly Roll Sizzle videos that I've watched myself, but the ruler is 4.5 by 12.5, and it would make really quick cutting or trimming of these strip sets. I don't have the ruler. I didn't have time for it to come, so I haven't ordered one yet. So I'm just making do with the ruler that I have. And I can do just fine with this. It has the 1/4 inch marks, and I can line that the lines up, and it's going to work out just fine for me. And I am just laying the scraps off to the side. I may incorporate them in the back of the quilt, or if I have enough, I may incorporate them in the border. In the very least, I can put them in another project if I have something random that I want to do later, or even maybe make some throw pillow covers to go with the quilts that I'm making now. So lots of things that you can do with the scraps. They're already sewn together and they may be odd sizes, but I can definitely lay them to the side and decide what I want to do with them later, but they will not go to waste. So off camera, I'm just going to continue to trim my strips to 12.5 by 4.5, and I'll be working on the next video set for the Jelly Roll Sizzle quilts. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next set of videos. Have a great day.